Please support the bar by subscribe, and sharing my cast. Follow my social media at Facebook, Instagram, Gab, Parler, BitChute, YouTube, DLIVE, Twitch, CLOUTHUB, and Rumble, or join my Subscribe Star. Make a donation by clicking on the links on the description box. I am a listener-supported show, so any of the above is greatly appreciated. Help me grow and spread the truth, since the mainstream media obviously does not want to support truth. All links are listed on the description box. God bless you and enjoy.
Welcome to the Speak Uneasy, a safe space where cancel culture does not exist, because we are in a different prohibition era.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Speak Uneasy with your host, the bartender. So tonight's random read is going to come off of the book of Ezekiel, chapter 33, verses 30 through 33. The people's covetous hearts. Also, thou son of man, the children of thy people still are talking against thee by the walls and in the doors of the houses, and speak one to another, every one to his brother, saying, Come, I pray you, and hear what is the word that cometh forth from the Lord. And they come unto thee as the people cometh, and they sit before thee as many people, and they hear thy words, but thou wilt not do them. For with their mouth they shew much love, but their heart goeth after their covetousness. And lo, thou art unto them as a very lovely song of one that hath a pleasant voice, and can play well on an instrument. For they hear thy words, but they do them not. And when his cometh to pass, lo, it will come, then shall they know that a prophet hath been among them. Once again, this random read came from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 33, verses 30 through 33. The people's covetous hearts. Now my take on this random read. By far, I am not a prophet or anything of that sort. I only do what God has assigned me to do. And according to this, I spread the word of the Lord. Many will not hear. And by the time they realize that I have been trying to steer them into God's path, it'll be too late. That's my take on it. It's a very simple reading for me today. I am not trying to compare myself as some kind of prophet, because I am not. I am a servant of God. God has told me to spread the word. The word is what I am spreading. But unfortunately, not many will take heed of what I spread. People are very choosy in probably what I tell them, or what I share with them, I should say, because I don't tell anybody anything. I share what my thoughts are. I share what I perceive to be as message from God through Scripture, okay? Not through my own brain, but through Scripture. And you interpret that how God is talking to you. Now, as far as this particular read, this is telling me that although I am speaking to many people out there, out on the airwaves, again, many people not even they'll hear it, they'll listen to it, but they won't follow through with it. So that's my take on the random read for tonight. Wow. My picks of random reads have been really giving me warning about what's going to happen here. And I'm not trying to put any doom and gloom or predict any future around here, but everything seems to be connecting with each other. So I don't know if we're getting really close to something huge that's going to happen. I don't know. I am just a normal person like you guys are. My relationship with God is very important to me. And if God tells me do this, you bet darn well I'm going to do it, because who am I to tell God no? I don't want to be struck down by lightning or anything like that. So that is my take on today's random read. So I have to kind of accept that not many people are going to follow through with what I share with them. Anyways, so for tonight's cocktail, we are going to be making a coffee cobbler. A coffee cobbler. I don't necessarily have a history on the coffee cobbler, but today for the coffee cobbler, it's a very simple cocktail to make. I do like liquor, and I do like coffee. So why not combine both to make an awesome cocktail? So for today, we are going to make, like I said, a coffee cobbler. This is a very simple thing to make. It only consists of 3 things, one of which is optional to you if you want. This one is going to be a cognac-based cocktail. So the cognac of choice that I'm using today is a Hennessy very special cognac. And I also have with me, usually I have my own cold brew, but man, I guess we ran out. So I went to the store and I got me some SUMPTOWN original cold brew, and it's not sweetened. It's just black. So we're going to go ahead and start making this. We're going to highball this, which means we're going to create this in the cup that we have. So what I'm using I'm using a mug. I'm using a almost like a beer mug, a tall beer mug. We're going to fill this up with crushed ice. Okay, crushed ice. Okay, hold on. I got to work my way around here. I don't have a scooper, so I'm using this little freaking metal straw that I'm going to use to drink this thing to put my ice inside my mug. So just bear with me, guys. I'm working with home equipment here, and as soon as I go on video, I'll have everything up to par here. So we're gonna top this whole mug off with crushed ice. The reason why they call it a cobbler is because this thing is all cobbled up like rocks. Okay, so I topped that off there, and now we're gonna put an ounce and a half of brandy, or cognac, I should say. All right, it's an ounce and a half of Hennessy. Next, we're gonna go ahead and put about half an ounce of simple syrup, into the glass here. Right. And now we are going to put about roughly 3 ounces of cold brew into the glass. So we'll put. I'm free pouring this. What I'm doing is I'm just topping it off. There it is. About, man, that's more than 3 ounces. I'd say it's about 4 to 5. So. Give it a little stir. Give it a, not a little bit, but just give it a stir, because the simple syrup went to the bottom, and you want to be able to spread that out, because once you start drinking this thing, you don't want to have to drink all the sweetness from the bottom. You know what I'm saying? All right, there it is. Now for the taste test. Let's see how this goes. I'm not a cognac guy. I'm not a brandy guy, but hey, it's a sweet liquor. So wow, that is pretty good. That's good. That's like duh. I was about to say it's like a sweetened iced coffee. It is. It actually is pretty good. People might be particular about when they drink coffee. I can drink coffee anytime. Like, I can drink coffee at midnight. I can drink coffee whenever, and I'm not sensitive to the caffeine in coffee. But this is a very well balanced drink. Like, wow, it makes a good dessert cocktail for sure. If you had something to eat and you want a dessert cocktail, this would definitely qualify for one of those. So there it is, the coffee cobbler. Cheers. And now for the show. So we're going to go ahead and review a couple articles today. First article that I stumbled upon was from the Federalist.com. This one was written by Joe Allen on June 4th of this year. Headline reads, "Is grafting dead babies' scalps onto lab rats any better than child sacrifice?" The horrors of experimentation on aborted babies are too easily purged from our thoughts, but they should stoke our national conscience. This article is about gruesome subject matter. So I take it that's their little disclaimer. And this is going to be kind of difficult for me to talk about because I'm a very pro-life person. Child sacrifice strains the limit of moral relativity. Yet too often abortion gets a pass. There are various arguments why, but at least it's a debate. In contrast, most Americans are only semi-conscious of the use of aborted babies for medical experiments. Our tax dollars pay for it through the National Institute of Health, but more often than not, we never heard about it. In a recent Newsweek editorial, David Daladin reminded the public that scientists at the University of Pittsburgh have been taking 5-month-old aborted infants. 5-month-old aborted infants. 5-month-old aborted infants. Cutting out their body parts, then grafting their scalps onto mice, or otherwise harvesting their organs for medical use. Our natural response is revulsion. For the sake of sanity, though, our momentary outrage is usually followed by forgetfulness. It's a difficult subject matter it's a difficult subject to contemplate, so most people don't, at least for long. When Daladin exposed similar abuses by Planned Parenthood back in 2015, very little changed. Most of us who heard about it simply recoiled in disgust and moved on. Meanwhile, Daladin faced felony eavesdropping charges for his undercover investigation and is still trying to appeal court orders to pay Planned Parenthood more than $15 million in damages and legal fees. Okay, so this guy faces felony eavesdropping charges, but Planned Parenthood kills babies, and they're suing Daladin for $15 million in damages and legal fees? I don't know what to say about that. That's upside down to me. Outside the activist community or his delighted detractors, his story goes largely untold. Any gruesome practice done in the name of medicine is subject to the ethical scrutiny of experts, of course. But the experts are usually the ones conducting them. Most observers have no power over the situation, if they knew about it all. Similarly, most people rarely think about the dark acts occurring daily in abortion clinics, right? Or the child sacrifices taking place today in Uganda, South Africa, and elsewhere. Effectively, these horrors exist outside the public's moral framework. Meanwhile, the horrors of abortion have become too normalized. Yes, they have. They have. They have. I don't know what to say about that statement. A recent Pew poll found 59% of Americans support allowing abortions to remain legal, while only 39% oppose it. That opposition is heavily skewed towards white evangelicals. Even among Catholic respondents, more than half favored legalization. What the As you'd expect, older generations are more concerned than young people, although the majority in every age bracket was pro-abortion. What is going on, man? I mean, seriously, what has happened? Where the great majority of every age bracket was pro-abortion? What's going on here? I'm unaware of any public opinion polls on child sacrifice, but I think it's fair to say almost no Americans would favor throwing infants onto temple fires, even for the benefit of the community. You know, I almost think that that's a more humane way of doing things as opposed to freaking harvesting babies and killing them on purpose. I don't know. I mean, either way is bad. I don't know. For one thing, few modern Americans believe that gods require human blood to make the crops grow or keep the sun on its course. Beyond that logical reasoning, though, we're morally conditioned from childhood to believe human beings deserve better. And we do. We're God's children. We do. We deserve the best. We're made in the image of God. Don't we deserve the best? Don't we deserve to go to the moon? Don't we deserve to take this a step further into humanity and see where this goes? Part of the shift in attitudes toward pregnancy termination, is that what they call it now? Pregnancy termination? It's murder to me. It's baby murder to me. I call it baby murder. Is due to pop science narratives. For instance, because a newly conceived embryo has not developed a nervous system with pain receptors, this living being is easily seen as a mere clump of cells. It takes real effort to imagine what the baby's experience might be like, so it's easy to pretend it has no soul. Really, I think we're given a soul before we were even born, to be honest. Then again, science also reveals that by 7 weeks, a fetus has formed free nerve endings. By this time, the spinal cord and thalamus are sufficiently developed to receive nerve impulses during discomfort, including discomfort. Some of the children used in the University of Pittsburgh experiments were at 22 weeks of development when they were killed and mutilated. Let me read this again. Some of the children, because they've already called it children, used in the University of Pittsburgh experiments were at 22 weeks of development when they were killed and mutilated. There's every reason to believe these tiny people are fully capable of experiencing pain. Nevertheless, those who stand to benefit decide such pain is worth the sacrifice. The comparison of abortion to child sacrifice is a common polemic, largely because there's no satisfactory answer for why the two are fundamentally different. In many historical rituals, murders across the globe, the purpose wasn't purely malicious. Aztecs, Mayans, Incas, Canaanites, Polynesians, the ancient Chinese, various African tribes, and probably the Celts were all willing to make a trade-off. Kill innocent people for the perceived benefit to the community. Well, we're not living in those times anymore, are we? I mean, last time we checked, we're in 2021 and we're supposed to be civilized right now, right? It ain't the Dark Ages anymore. I don't know. They may have believed that back then, but I think we've evolved to more, I don't know, something more better. I mean, we're able to develop all this technology now, supposedly. Are we going backwards? I think we are going backwards. I think we are. The logic for abortion at its core is pretty much the same. Women have various reasons for wanting to terminate pregnancy, as do men, but it ultimately snuffs out an innocent life so other people's lives can proceed unencumbered. Well, sorry for the inconvenience. Maybe if you were a little bit more responsible, right? Let me keep going, because maybe we'll discuss this when I'm done. Even in the most difficult circumstances, such as incest or rape, the infant's life is being sacrificed for the benefit of other people. The same principle is at work in this kind of medical research, but with a seductive twist. The purpose of the child's sacrifice is to benefit other people, but the results are more readily demonstrated. In one of the University of Pittsburgh's experiments, tissues were scraped from the livers of infants at 22 weeks of gestation and injected into liver disease patients. The researchers hope to use similar cell-based treatments to rejuvenate the withered livers of anyone who can afford it. I don't know how I can continue reading this. I'm going to have to. Because we need to hear this. We need to hear what's going on. The rhetoric we've heard many times this past year, if we can save just one life, is at play here in its most twisted form, ignoring the fact that such medical research costs the lives of countless unborn children. Unfortunately, that's the way it is, huh? I mean, as far as me reading this article, this is it's unfortunate that it's come to this. Another study published in Nature shows pictures of infants scalps growing on the backs of pitiful rodents. What the The viewer knows the soft hair should be growing on a child's head, but isn't. The conscience revolts. The spell is broken. You begin to wonder whether any potential benefit to those who are alive are worth something like this. Jeez. It's a deeply moral question arising from an innate sense of fairness. Surely there were Aztecs who witnessed the bloody spectacle and thought it might be better to let the sun go dark. I've known a number of women who've had abortions, and for most, the emotional price of their newfound freedom was far greater than they'd ever imagine. I also know laboratory techs, all women, who still weep after euthanizing lab mice. The reality is that many Americans benefit from human cruelty, directly or indirectly, be it from wars of aggression or hellish factory farms. In the case of research on aborted infants and humanized mice, oh gosh, man. It's possible countless lives could be saved by the resulting information. So the moral concern shifts away from the invisible innocence towards more immediate desires. Yet, when confronted with the brutal truth behind these actions, something in the soul recoils. I would hope so. We should heed the awakened voices. In the moment it goes silent, we cease to be fully human. Once again, that was from thefederalist.com, written by Joe Allen, published on June 4th of this year. So let's discuss this article. I'm a very pro-life person, and it doesn't matter what situation happens. Even if it was a rape victim, it's not the baby's fault. It's not. So why kill the baby? Okay? You don't know what potential lies for that person. You don't know if they're able to make a big, huge change in this world that could be very, very positive. It may be negative too. Sure, it could go anyway, up or down, right? I was once thrown this question, and the question was something to the effect of, if I was able to travel back in time, knowing all the information I know now, and I happened to stumble upon Hitler as a baby, would I kill Hitler or not? My answer, I would not. And the reason why I say this, even though a lot of people would beg to differ as far as like for the greater good, I guess. I couldn't kill a baby, for one. For two, what purpose does that, I mean, who am I to have that kind of power over somebody? I'm nobody. I'm God's servant. I would like to equate this to something to the effect. I'd like to make a comparison. Like, that's above my pay grade, because it really is. I am not the judge of anybody. I don't decide who lives or dies, except the only time I think deciding whether somebody lives or dies is when you have to protect life as far as like imminent danger. And a good example of that is if I was at a, I don't know, like a grocery store with my family and there was an active shooter, I would feel obligated to protect my family and innocent lives. In that instance, I would be compelled to stop the threat. Okay? If the person lives or dies, that's on the fate of him or her. But if I had to protect and preserve life, innocent life, including my own and my family's, I would do what I can to stop the threat. What happens after that is beyond me. That would be between that person and God. This is just me thinking. That's the only time I feel that it's proper for the greater good in imminent danger. Now, when it comes to a little baby, and you already know what future holds for this little baby, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I mean, for one, the baby can't say anything. For two, the baby can't defend itself. What does that make me? Better than him? No, it doesn't make me better. It puts me in the same level. That's just my opinion. That's just the way I see it. Now, as far as like rape victims or incest victims, that's a very difficult choice. Or even if the mother is in danger of losing her life, it's a very difficult thing to fathom. But I would think the right thing to do is to give the baby up for adoption. Only because there are so many couples out there who are not able to have kids. And, you know, it seems to be more common than it used to. Many couples cannot have children. And I think the reason for that is a lot of a lot of toxins that we're exposed to out there in the world every day, every minute, every second, every hour, every week, every month, every year, however you want to break it down. I honestly think that there's a lot of toxins out there that are, and I don't consider myself a conspiracy theorist, but if there is a plan on the Georgia Guidestones to depopulate the human race, I think people not having kids is part of that plan. Yes or no? Just saying. And another thing that another angle that I can see on this is that look, we're not car parts. We're not car parts. Okay? You don't harvest children. You don't harvest human beings, kill them on purpose, and use them as body parts. You think we're, I don't know, whatever car parts store you go to? Is that what we look like to you? It's absolutely sickening. It really is. It's absolutely sickening, and it stuns me. It stuns me. I think these people are not even human, to be honest. They're not human. And the nerve of these scientists to even play God, so to say. I believe one day that they will have to make their own maker, and we'll see what kind of punishment they get. I'm pretty sure the punishment for that is going to be it's going to be way worse than what they put those little unborn babies through. The nerve of these people purposely killing these babies. And, as far as like having an oopsie baby, look, that's irresponsibility. That's irresponsibility. How is it the baby's fault? That's not the baby's fault. That's your fault. So you got two things you got to do, right? You got two choices here. This is my opinion of what your choices are. You either stick around, raise that kid right, erase all the wrongs you've done to produce somebody better than yourself. Or you give the baby up for adoption and give to a family that is more loving and caring and who is more financially stable, that is willing to give their all to this kid to raise somebody right. Those are the two choices you have. I mean, personally for me, if I ever messed up in my life, I always had to deal with the responsibility of the consequences. No matter what it was. I had to face the music. Sometimes it makes me a better person having to face the music. I don't know. Having kids for sure changes your perspective about life. It sure does. If you are a godly person, if you are a caring person, if you are a responsible person, if you have that conscience in your heart, when you have your own child, you look at things very differently. You start to care more if you're a very responsible person and a very godly and loving person. You start to look at things less about yourself and more about the child. You do. I make sacrifices for my children all the time. I travel back and forth for work. I hate it, but I love my family. And I'm willing to go to hell and back for my family. So, I don't know. That's my take on this article. It's a hard thing to fathom because it has been accepted, not by me, but as a society in all. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of pro-life people out there, but you people can understand what I'm saying as far as it's gone far off the edge already because this is accepted and we shouldn't be accepting this. We shouldn't. And to combine children's own organs with animals, that's another sickness in itself. I don't know. That's another psychological thing going on in your brain as far as the scientist goes. I thought science was to find out the answers to better mankind. Not to freaking take us back and do evil things. But I guess there's a special place in hell for you people, right? That decide that you want to play God. I don't know. That's just me thinking out loud. So I'm going to go ahead and take a break. And then when we get back, we'll discuss another article that I found. So I will speak to you after the break. And we're back. So the next article of discussion that we have today comes from thegatewaypundit.com. This one was written by Jim Hoft, published on June 6th of this year. Mind you, I might change a person's name or two just because I feel like doing it and it's my show and I can do whatever the F I want as far as how I read these things. It will be to accuracy except for this one person's name. Article reads, "It's worse than we thought. Faunochio and top U.S. doctors caught. They conspired to disqualify hydroxychloroquine as Charlie Victor treatment. Millions dead as a result." The Gateway Pundit has reported extensively this past year on the effects of hydroxychloroquine in treating the Charlie Victor 19 virus. We knew that Dr. Tony Faunochio and the medical elites conspired to ban the use of this very successful drug. We reported earlier on how Dr. Faunochio used bogus studies to disqualify HCQ in treating Charlie Victor. Oops, almost. As previously reported, it's been over a year since the WHO declared the Charlie Victor a pandemic after originally downplaying the threat. It is no secret that both the disease and the response to combat it following the SARS CoV-2 outbreak in late 2019 have turned our world upside down. Yeah, you think? You got people out there who are just nuts about this thing now. Well, let me read this first, and I can go on my soapbox afterwards. Mandates, lockdowns, and guidelines seem to change every time Dr. Faunochio opens his mouth and when his nose grows. All of these unprecedented rules were put into place. We were told to slow down the spread of the disease that today is linked to the death of over 500,000 Americans and 3.7 global citizens in the last year. Yeah, if only you guys knew that they label every death of that thing, huh? They labeled even if you got into like a motorcycle accident, they'd label people died of Charlie Victor. You would think that researchers would have concentrated on prophylactic and therapeutic solutions of this disease, especially since this disease is a death sentence for the elderly, the obese, those with pre-existing conditions. The Charlie Victor doctors have forced children to avoid school, mask up, and get vaccinated. Sick doctors. One would think that after all this time, there would be a consensus in the hospitals, in the nursing homes, and in other treatment centers on how to treat a Charlie Victor positive patient or resident. This is not the case. There is still no agreed upon treatment plan for elderly patients to catch Charlie Victor to assist in their recovery. The CDC and Dr. Faunochio ignored treatment plans for Charlie Victor patients unless the person was under severe distress. Cardiologist and professor of medicine Peter McCullough testified in Texas, of all states, earlier this year. Dr. McCullough sees Charlie Victor patients and says 85% of Charlie Victor patients given multi-drug treatment plan recover from the disease with complete immunity. McCullough added, the pandemic could have been over by now, he says, if those who tested positive for Charlie Victor had been immediately treated before they fell ill enough to be hospitalized. Excuse me for that burp. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude. He also says that thousands could have been and still could be saved in the treatment protocol he and other physicians use were not suppressed. Well, if you're suppressed, you're hitting the right target. You're on point. Dr. Faunochio and the CDC and WHO suppressed this effective treatment plan and others. And hundreds of thousands of innocents died. And now this. The Charlie19HCQ.com website tracks all of the international studies on hydroxychloroquine and its effects on the Charlie Victor. There is now a new study, and the results are shocking. HCQ for Charlie Victor 19 real-time meta-analysis of 245 studies. HCQ is not effective when used very late with high dosages over a long period of over a long period. Effectiveness improves with earlier usage and improving dosing, but early treatment consistently shows positive effects. That's the science. TGP contributor Larry Johnson touched on this on Wednesday night and took excerpts from Headline USA's reports on Dr. Faunochio'S emails regarding hydroxychloroquine. But the emails also showed that Faunochio was more in the loop than he let on concerning some of the Trump administration's purposed treatment solutions. He notoriously second-guessed then President Donald Trump during a press conference statement about the benefits of using hydroxychloroquine. Faunochio refuted President Trump in a White House press conference on March 25th. Although Faunochio seemed taken aback and insisted that the anecdotal claims had yet to be conclusively studied. A month earlier, he had been looped into an email to Pence on February 29th, in which a pair of Oklahoma physicians extensively discussed their research on it. Faunochio also responded to a February 24th inquiry that noted that China had been reporting about its clinical studies with the drug. Is there any indication or data to substantiate this claim from China? Attached publication that hydroxychloroquine can decrease Charlie Victor 19 infections in lung disease, wrote Maryland pharmacologist Philip Gotti. Faunochio's passive reply echoed what he would later convey on the national stage. There is no data in this brief report, and so I have no way of evaluating their claim, he wrote dismissively. There are a lot of types of claims going around, he continued. I would love to see their data. Then in May, Dr. Faunochio told CNN that hydroxychloroquine was actually, quote, dangerous and ineffective. Dr. Faunochio told CNN hydroxychloroquine was actually dangerous when used as a prophylactic against Charlie Victor. Hydroxychloroquine had been used safely for 65 years in millions of patients. And so when the message was crafted that the drug is safe for its other uses but dangerous when used for Charlie Victor 19. This statement made headlines throughout the fake news media, and it was a complete lie. After Faunochio's statement on hydroxychloroquine, the tech giants began censoring any mention of the drug. The media mocked President Trump and anyone who suggested the drug was safe and effective. Doctors treating Charlie Victor patients were suspended from their social media accounts. Well. Of course they did. It's what happens when you speak the truth. You just get canceled out. You just get canceled out. Can't tell the truth no more. Report on dumb stuff. It was all based on a lie perpetrated by Dr. Anthony Faunochio. Now there is more information that it was not just Faunochio, but all of the top U.S. medical leaders who were in on the hydroxychloroquine lie. Dr. Merrill Nas, MD, broke this story in The Defender. According to Dr. Nas, the top health officials were all in on the conspiracy against hydroxychloroquine. So who are the ones who are actually spreading conspiracy out there? Not the truth tellers. No. Faunochio runs the NIAID. Collins is the NIH director. Nominally Faunochio's boss, and Farrar is director of the Wellcome Trust. The names that these guys use, man, very misleading. Trust. And the way welcome is spelled is with 2 L's, like wellness. I don't know. Farrar also signed the Lancet letter, and he is chair of the WHO's R&D Blueprint Scientific Advisory Group, which put him in the driver's seat of the WHO's Solidarity trial, in which 1,000 unwitting subjects were overdosed with hydroxychloroquine in order to sink the use of that drug for Charlie Victor. Farrar had worked in Vietnam, where there was lots of malaria, and he had also been involved with SARS-1 there. He additionally was central in setting up the UK recovery trial, where 1,600 subjects were overdosed with hydroxychloroquine. Even if Farrar didn't have some idea of the proper dose of chloroquine drugs from his experience in Vietnam, he, Faunochio, and Collins would have learned about such overdoses after Brazil told the world about how they mistakenly overdosed patients in a trial of chloroquine for Charlie Victor. The revelation was made in an article published by the JAMA in mid-April 2020. 39% of the subjects in Brazil who were given high doses of chloroquine died. Average age, 50. Yet the Solidarity and Recovery hydroxychloroquine trials continued into June, stopping only after their extreme doses were exposed. Faunochio made sure to control the treatment guidelines for Charlie Victor that came out of the NIAID, advising against both chloroquine drugs and ivermectin. Faunochio's NIAID also canceled the first large-scale trial of hydroxychloroquine treatment in early disease, after only 20 of the expected 2,000 subjects were enrolled. What does this all mean? Well, let's find out. Number 1, there was a conspiracy between the 5 authors of the Nature paper and the heads of the NIH, NIAID, and Wellcome Trust to cover up the lab origin of Charlie Victor. There was a conspiracy involving Daszak, Faunochio, and others to push the natural origin theory. See other emails in the recent drop. There was a conspiracy involving Daszak to write the Lancet letter and hide its provenance to push the natural origin theory and paint any other idea as conspiracy theory. Collins' blog post is another piece of the story. Farrar was intimately involved in both large hydroxychloroquine overdose trials in which about 500 subjects total died. That's 500 as opposed to like how many people did this test. I don't know. Farrar, Faunochio, and Collins withheld research funds that could have supported quality trials of the use of chloroquine drugs and ivermectin and other repurposed drugs that might have turned around the pandemic. Are the 4 individuals named here, Faunochio, Daszak, Collins, and Farrar, intimately involved in the creation of the pandemic, as well as prolongation and improper treatments used during the pandemic? Well, it says read the rest here, but you know what? I think we get the point here. We get the point. The ending of the article goes, this is an absolutely huge development. The same people responsible for the virus were responsible for eliminating valid treatment alternatives for the same virus. We are now looking at mass murder on an unfathomable scale. You think? Do you think? Let's hold the governors responsible too, who stuck these lovely senior people in senior homes even when they were infected. Let's hold those people accountable as well. Honestly, I think this whole article explains everything. It explains everything. I don't think I have to break down anything. I think you can hear the disgust in my voice as I read this, and also gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? The sarcasm. We have to do more digging on this thing. And lately, Faunochio has been on the hot seat. And I'm hoping that he will be brought to justice for all the BS that he's put this whole, especially here in America. He's put us through a lot of ish. Based on lies. I don't know what else to say. Maybe we should give him one of each experimental vaccine to and use him as a test experiment. What do you think? I don't know. I think it's a fair just punishment. Firing squad with injections? I don't know. So anyways, I want to thank you for listening. And I know the two topics today were very, very heavy. But nonetheless, these things have to be let out because people out there, the normies, the so-called normies out there, they need to know. They need to know what's going on. If they don't know what's going on by this time, then they're probably choosing to stick their head underground and not care about what's really going on. And shame on them, especially if they have children. Shame on them. Anyways, time for me to say goodbye. And as I end every show, with that being said,
the bar is now closed.
I can't help but wonder if I'm under a spell. It's more than a passing notion. I've never fallen with such devotion. I can't help but wonder if it's only a dream. Am I naive or can I believe that things are really as they seem? Can anyone explain how to understand what's true? I know I just can't tame it. Whenever I'm with you, I can't help but wonder if you wonder about me. 'Cause lately I can't help but wonder how wonderful this might be. Can anyone explain it? How to understand what's true? I know I just can't take it. Whenever I'm with you, I can't help but wonder if you wonder about me. 'Cause lately I can't help but wonder how wonderful this might be. 'Cause lately I can't help but wonder how wonderful this might